On my day off, I got a group text. We moved your desk. New hire needs the window seat. I came in, found my things in a box, and a 22-year-old sitting in my chair. I said nothing. I just booked the main conference room, invited the CEO, and played a clip of him calling her window dressing for investors. Now, HR's in a frenzy, and she's crying in the bathroom. I've worked at this company for 9 years. I'm not in management. I don't supervise anyone. I don't run meetings or give presentations. I'm just someone who shows up early, does more than what's asked, and helps people without being asked. I'm quiet. I don't go to the bar after work. I don't wear heels or take selfies at my desk. I don't decorate my cubicle with string lights or fake plants. I just work. When I started here, we were a tiny office above a parking garage. I still remember the day the power went out and we all had to finish payroll on paper. I stayed late. Everyone else left. I walked the sheets down to HR myself. That's the kind of person I've always been here. Not loud, not flashy, but dependable. Over the years, I trained at least a dozen people. Some of them now have titles above mine. I'm not bitter about it, not really. That's how things go. I don't like being in charge. But I guess I always assumed that if I just kept showing up, kept doing good work, I'd be left alone. I thought I had earned that much. I was wrong. It was a Friday, my scheduled day off. I don't take many, usually just when I have appointments. But this one I'd planned. I wanted to catch up on sleep, clean my apartment, maybe read. Nothing fancy. I was sitting on the couch with my coffee, my phone face down on the table. Around 11:30, I picked it up to check the time and saw a group message had come in. It was from one of the project leads, someone I've helped more times than I can count. The message was short. No greeting. No explanation. Hey, heads up, we moved your desk. New hire needed the window seat. I stared at it for a while. My heart dropped. I kept rereading it, thinking maybe I missed something. Maybe this was a joke. Or maybe it was meant for someone else. But it was clear. My name was listed. They had moved my desk. No discussion. No warning. Just moved it. I didn't reply. I didn't say anything. I just sat there, staring at the screen like it had insulted me. After a few minutes, I got up, got dressed, and drove into the office. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I walked in through the side door, like I always do. The place was quiet. People were eating lunch at their desks or out in the break room. No one looked up. When I got to my area, I stopped. My desk, my actual desk, was still there, but everything on it was gone. My monitor was still hooked up, my mouse still there, but the books, sticky notes, my little notebook with passwords, the framed photo of my dad, gone. Replaced with a tall iced coffee and someone else's laptop. She was sitting in my chair. She looked up when I walked in, smiled vaguely like she didn't quite recognize me, then looked back down at her screen. She had long nails and gold bracelets. She was young, early 20s, if that. New. I'd seen her once or twice in the halls, but didn't even know her name. My things were in a cardboard box on the floor beside the desk. Nothing labeled, just thrown in. I didn't say anything. I just picked up the box and carried it to the corner desk, the one behind the pillar near the printer where people drop off copies they don't want. The desk no one wants because it's always cold and noisy. I sat down and unpacked my things slowly, trying to keep my hands from shaking. I felt sick, not angry yet, just erased. No one came to check on me. No one even apologized. That night I went home and cried. I'm not proud of that, but I did. Then I got quiet. Not at work, at home, in my head. I started thinking. I remembered something. Months ago, I'd helped set up a leadership offsite. It was at a rental house a few towns over. They brought me along to set up AV for presentations and keep things running. I wasn't invited to sit at the table, but I was in the corner managing sound and slides. One night, after dinner, they were drinking. The CEO had too much. He was talking to the marketing director, loud, laughing, unaware. The mic was still hot. He said something I never forgot. He was talking about hiring optics. His exact words were, "We just need someone young and polished, window dressing for investors. Put her by the window." and it sends a message. They both laughed. At the time, I had saved the audio on my laptop. I didn't mean to, it was just part of the session recording, and I'd labeled it in a folder out of habit. But I remembered. I knew it was still there. So that weekend, I pulled it up. I clipped just that part. The voice is unmistakable, clear, loud, full of arrogance. Then I booked the main conference room for Monday morning. I gave it a title, Strategy Debrief. I invited the CEO, my director, two of the department leads, even the head of HR. I said I had updates from data ops and wanted to go over something I noticed in the monthly reporting. No one questioned it. I'm invisible until they need something. Monday came. I wore what I always wear. Nothing flashy. I brought my laptop in early and tested the screen connection twice. At 9:03, everyone filed in. The CEO made a dumb joke about how early it was. I didn't laugh. I stood by the screen and said, "Before we begin, I want to play something for context." Then I hit play. The room went quiet. There it was, his voice, laughing, window dressing for investors. Put her by the window. Clear as day. Clear who he was talking about. The new girl. My desk. I didn't say anything after. I didn't explain. I didn't look at anyone. I just closed my laptop and said, "That's all," and walked out. By noon, HR was at my desk. They wanted to know where I got the audio, if I had shared it, if I was planning legal action. I just said I'd be happy to speak with legal, but for now, I needed to finish my reports. The new hire? She didn't come out of the bathroom for almost 40 minutes. She looked at me once in the hallway, like I'd stab her, and quickly looked away. No one moved me back to my desk, but no one else sits there either. Now it's just empty. The chair pushed in. The sunlight hitting it all day long. People avoid me now. Not in a mean way. More like they don't know what to say. The CEO hasn't made eye contact with me since. And I still haven't said a word. By Tuesday morning, everything felt different. The office was quieter than usual, but not in a peaceful way. More like everyone was holding their breath. I could feel eyes on me when I walked past people's desks. Conversations would stop mid-sentence when I entered a room. In meetings, people sat up straighter, chose their words carefully. Some tried to act normal, small talk about the weather or lunch, but their voices were strained. Fake. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't satisfied either. I just felt suspended, like I had pushed a domino and now I had no control over how far it would fall. That afternoon, HR sent me a meeting invite, 30 minutes with the head of people ops and a legal liaison from corporate. The subject line just said follow up. I showed up on time. They were polite, careful. The legal rep thanked me for attending and asked if I would be comfortable sharing the original recording. I said no, that it was internal use only and not distributed anywhere. I told them I didn't want a lawsuit, I didn't want money, I just wanted accountability. That word made them shift in their seats. Accountability. They asked what I meant by that. I said I wanted to know why my desk was reassigned without discussion. Why a new hire was prioritized over someone with almost a decade of service. Why no one thought I mattered. They said they'd look into it. I knew what that meant. It meant delay. It meant hoping I'd let it go. It meant they wanted to contain the damage. But it was already spreading. By Thursday, a few more people had come forward with similar stories. Older employees being sidelined, left out of meetings, passed over for promotions in favor of younger, more camera-ready hires. Most stayed anonymous, but I knew at least 3 who had been moved or restructured in the past 6 months. One even told me privately she'd been asked to train her replacement without being told she was being let go. It wasn't just about me anymore. Then something strange happened. The new hire, the 22-year-old who had taken my desk, started coming in late. She looked tired, uncomfortable. I overheard her crying on the phone in one of the smaller breakout rooms, saying something like, "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know that's why they hired me." I started to feel something I didn't expect. Not pity, not forgiveness, but recognition. She wasn't the mastermind. She was a symptom. She got swept into something that had nothing to do with her skill or her choices. She was used. On Friday, she didn't show up at all. No out-of-office message. No explanation. Her desk, the one that used to be mine, still sat empty. Then came the memo. Monday morning, HR sent out a company-wide clarification about professionalism, fairness in seating arrangements, and the importance of respecting all employees regardless of tenure or age. It was full of buzzwords and corporate padding, but everyone knew what it was really about. By midweek, the CEO made a public appearance at an all-hands meeting. He didn't mention the clip, didn't name me, but said things like, "We've had some hard conversations internally and our hiring practices are evolving." It was empty talk. He looked nervous, sweaty. People clapped out of obligation. After the meeting, I found an envelope on my desk. No note, no name. Inside was a flash drive. I plugged it in. It was another clip, security camera footage from the week before. It showed one of the senior managers, Ryan, packing up my things, tossing them into the box. He was laughing with another guy while doing it. At one point, he held up my photo frame and made a joke I couldn't hear. I stared at the screen for a long time. That night, I didn't go straight home. I stayed late. I made copies. I started a private folder. Not just the recordings, not just the footage, but everything I'd ever noticed. Emails, memos, performance reviews, patterns. Because this wasn't just about a desk anymore. This was about something bigger. And I wasn't the only one watching now. 2 weeks after the clip incident, I got called into another informal meeting with HR. Same 2 people. Legal liaison on Zoom this time, not in person. They said they were doing an internal audit of recent personnel changes and wanted to know if I'd be willing to answer a few non-disciplinary questions about company culture. I said sure. They started asking strange things. Had I noticed favoritism in promotions? Did I know if any directors had personal relationships with recent hires? Was I aware of any employees being pressured into roles they didn't apply for? It felt less like they were interviewing me and more like they were fishing. I realized then someone higher up was scared, not of me, of what might come out if this turned into something public. The clip I played wasn't just embarrassing, it hinted at a deeper pattern. Age discrimination, gender optics, possibly even harassment if the right questions were asked. When I got back to my desk, I had a Slack message from someone I barely knew, Layla from finance. She asked if we could talk off the record. We met outside at the coffee place across the street. She looked nervous. She told me she'd seen the footage too, the one on the flash drive, the one where Ryan was laughing while boxing up my stuff. Apparently, someone in security had leaked it to a few people before it reached me. There were more clips, she said. Ryan had done the same thing to at least 2 other employees in the past year. One was a woman named Brenda who'd been let go after 15 years. She was told her role was redundant. A week later, a 23-year-old with no experience was sitting in her seat with the title Client Success Associate. No one ever connected the dots. Until now. That weekend, I got an email. No name, no subject line, just a file attachment and a single sentence. He's been doing this for years. The file was a folder dump. It included calendar invites, hiring memos, and performance reviews, all tied to Ryan, all showing a pattern. Older employees phased out, younger replacements brought in days later, and each time, the justification on paper looked clean. Budget cuts, team restructuring, shifting strategy. But when you laid it out side by side, it was obvious. It was calculated, and the CEO had signed off on most of it. I started printing, quietly, at home. I created a personal backup drive. Then something unexpected happened. The young woman who'd taken my desk, her name was Ava, asked to meet. She looked different, like the shine had worn off. She told me she was quitting, said she didn't want to be part of a company that used people like props, said she'd overheard something, a private conversation between Ryan and one of the directors in the hallway. They were laughing about me, saying things like, "Let her burn herself out. She thinks she's some kind of whistleblower." Ava said she didn't know what to do with that, but she didn't want to stay. I told her to write it down. Everything she remembered. Dates, names, anything. She did. 3 pages. That was the first time I felt something shift. I wasn't alone anymore. By the end of the week, 3 more employees reached out to me quietly. One of them had been documenting things for over a year. She'd been afraid to say anything. Now, we were building something together. Not just a folder, not just a case, a record of every small, cruel decision they thought no one would notice. A few days later, someone from IT pulled me aside in the hallway. His name was Nolan. We'd barely spoken before. He was one of those guys who kept to himself, showed up in hoodies, and didn't bother anyone. He handed me a thumb drive, quick, like he was passing me gum. Then he walked away. Inside the drive, email logs. Not just mine, everyone's. At least a dozen messages from Ryan to senior leadership. Subject lines like optics placement, investor strategy, HR adjustments, and Q3 refresh of external-facing roles. They weren't careful. They didn't even try to hide it. In one, Ryan said, "We need to clean up the older faces near the client corridor. Let's reassign or restructure. HR can spin it." Another one had the CEO replying, "Do what you need to do. Just keep it quiet." I printed them all. I didn't go to HR. I knew better by now. Instead, I booked another conference room. Not the main one this time, a smaller room. Just 6 seats. I invited Ava, Layla, Nolan, the 3 others who had come to me. One had already been put on performance watch. Another had just had her hours quietly cut. I didn't trust that they'd be around much longer. When we met, no one spoke at first. Then I laid it all out, paper by paper, log by log. We sat there for almost 2 hours, going through all, lining it up, mapping the patterns, every dismissal, every transfer, every passive-aggressive email about energy, fresh voices, or client-facing appearance. This wasn't just about a desk anymore. This was strategy, policy, coordinated removal, age, gender, salary, appearance. Ava said, "They're cleaning house." Someone else said, "They already have. We just didn't see it." That night, I went home and opened a new document. I gave it a title, Timeline of Internal Targeting Practices. It had 3 sections: staff, impact, records, manager communications, witness statements. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I got an email from legal. Not HR, legal directly. They asked for a formal conversation to discuss compliance concerns. The same day, Ava texted me. She was being asked to sign an NDA as part of her exit paperwork. She said they offered her a bonus, a pretty big one. She hadn't signed yet. That afternoon, Layla said finance was being pulled into a restructuring plan. She'd been told to prepare documentation on low-efficiency roles based on age demographics. She took screenshots. By Friday, one of the people who met with me had their badge deactivated. No warning, no message, just locked out. They were told it was a system error. They weren't allowed back in. I made more copies, one on a cloud drive, one on a private USB I kept in my car, one printed in a sealed envelope given to a friend outside the company just in case. They thought they were cleaning house, but we weren't just victims anymore. We were keeping score. 3 weeks later, all cracked. It started with Ava. She didn't sign the NDA. Instead, she forwarded the email chain and bonus offer to a labor lawyer. She also gave them a copy of her 3-page statement and the printed emails I gave her. The lawyer contacted me next, then Layla, then the others. He said we had more than a case. We had a system, a pattern of targeted removals, age-based discrimination, and retaliation. We weren't sure what we wanted yet, money, exposure, or change, but we knew we were done staying quiet. He helped us draft letters. Each of us sent a formal complaint, one by one, to the board of directors, bypassing HR, bypassing legal, sent directly with a summary of everything: dates, names, screenshots, recordings. One of the board members replied within hours. A week later, an outside investigator showed up. They called it an internal cultural review, but everyone knew what it was. People went pale. Meetings were canceled. Ryan stopped showing up completely. The CEO tried to act calm, started making casual walks around the office, smiling like nothing was wrong, asking people how their weekend was. I ignored him every time. One morning, I got a calendar invite I didn't expect. A private session with the investigator. I brought everything. The flash drive, the folder, the original recording, the security footage, Ava's statement, the email from legal, Layla's screenshots. I laid it all out on the table and said, they didn't just move my desk. They moved people out of this company on purpose, and they thought no one would care. The investigator didn't say much, just took notes, asked clear, slow questions. A week after that meeting, Ryan was fired. No severance, no farewell. We all got the email at 9:04 a.m. The CEO called a company-wide meeting that afternoon, said there had been leadership changes, tried to spin it as a culture reset. Nobody clapped this time. Then came the part no one expected. They offered me my old desk back. I said no, not because I didn't want it, but because they thought that was the fix, that giving me sunlight again would make everything okay. It wasn't enough. So I asked for something else. A meeting with the board, not in writing, not filtered through HR. A real meeting. They gave it to me. I stood in front of 5 board members in a downtown office building with a legal pad and a plain manila envelope. I told them what really happened here. Not just to me, but to all of us. The slow erosion, the small humiliations, the paper-thin reasons used to discard people who had built the foundation of the company. I ended with this. You don't need a fresh face to look successful. You need a clean conscience. They were quiet. After that, things changed fast. The CEO was transitioned out. That was the phrase they used. He vanished without a goodbye. An email came from the board 2 weeks later. A formal apology. Company-wide. They said they would be reviewing all recent dismissals and reassignments, looking at rehiring or financial restitution. They launched a new ethics team, a permanent third-party reporting line. We didn't trust it at first, not right away. But then, the woman who had been quietly fired weeks earlier, they brought her back. Same salary, higher title. Layla was promoted. Her project became the new standard for cross-department reporting. Ava got hired by a better firm. She sent me a thank you card. No return address. Just a message inside that said, "You helped me see it sooner." And me? I stayed, but not in silence. I started a weekly report that showed staff treatment trends. It got added to the exec briefing. I meet with HR every month now. Not because I have to, because they ask me to. That desk by the window? It's still empty. They left it open. No one wants it now. Not out of fear, out of respect. It's a reminder of what they tried to do and what we did instead.